Boom! Hobby Think Tank is back, or as they say in the Caribbean, Hobby Think Tank. I'm John Keating. That's Danny Black. We're going to talk a little bit about card shows and what makes a great card show. Danny Black goes to a lot of card shows. He lives in an area where he gets a little bit of slice of everything, don't you, Danny?
The Mid-Atlantic is very good. I know you're not too far away, but yeah, no, we're centered around a lot of stuff here.
So card shows are seems to be everywhere. I use Card Show Map to tell me kind of where card shows are, when they are. Mall shows, and then the big ones too. You have any mall shows down there in Maryland that you go to, or you strictly go to the big shows?
We have some VFW type of stuff, which I consider similar to a mall show, fire hall type of stuff. And I'm actually setting up as a dealer for the first time in 30 years in a week or two. So that'll be at a smaller venue. So we'll see how that goes.
Where's that? Tell me where that is. If I'm around, I might go.
Elk Ridge,
Maryland. Elk Ridge, Maryland.
Good old Elk Ridge.
Route 1, baby. Love it.
Shout out to Andy at Rhino Cards, who is busting his butt to get a good local show in this area. So
good. Well, good luck to all. That's in a decent enough area. Everybody can hit that south of Baltimore. So what makes a great card show? Now, are you going to, I guess we're speaking from the vantage point of a consumer.
Yes.
Right? That would probably, since there are fewer dealers in the pool than there are customers.
I will say when I do the card show, my only rule for a good card show as a dealer for me will be to make money. So
sure.
that wouldn't be a good show between us. That would be a very quick episode. Right. So we should probably take it from the consumer side.
So here's the thing that dealers, I don't know what you consider yourself to be one of these guys or gals, but dealers are poker players, right? I think even the best shows will tell you they're having a crappy show. I don't know if it's negative. I just think it's playing it close, keeping your cards close. Is that, do you find that to be the case too? Like dealers are, it could be sunny out, but they're going to tell you a cloud just went by. That's, for the most part, that's the vibe I get.
And I get the reverse. They're never having a bad day.
Oh, really?
Yeah, even on an empty show, they're the booth that's actually doing okay. Everybody else might be having a bad day, but
interesting. We have different perspectives on that. That's interesting.
No. If the show's doing well, then I always hear, it's been pretty slow. If the show's slow, I hear, I'm doing fine. So I think you're right. I think they are close to the vest, and you got to read between the lines.
Because they're always making deals, and if they tell you have great cards, then the price just got more expensive. It's the same thing. I can't cut you a deal. If stuff was flying off the shelf, I'd be able to cut you a break. But it's a tough show. So you walk in, you've parked your car. I guess the first thing, let's talk about that. Did you park your car? Did you use the valet service? Did you get the super VIP package? What did you do when you go to a car show?
Can I throw infrastructure as a big category of mine as somebody who goes to a lot of shows?
Yeah.
Convenient parking is a must.
Mm-hmm.
Any show that you go to that you have to walk, or parking, is $30, is a turnoff to me right away.
Right.
So that part of it, I get cranky to start the day,
Right.
And as a family person, I'm just going to throw in food and bathrooms with the parking, because that's usually the venue. It's usually not up to the host.
They're not running a charity, Danny. Come on.
I understand. So I'm going to throw in all those for venue things that I like for a good show.
Well, it's interesting you talk about infrastructure, and I'll go deeper on that in a minute here with a different perspective. But it all depends on where it is, right? You just
Sure.
I think you visited the Fishtown show, and
Yes.
it's in a casino. Now, most casinos around here, Jersey, Pennsylvania, you don't pay to park. So I assume you didn't have to pay to park there, right? Because they don't want their customers paying.
Yep. And it was extremely easy. I'll say for having never gone,
Mhm.
parking was easy right into the floor we had to go to. My son was with me, so we couldn't get off at the wrong floor. We had to
Right,
go to the right place, and
right.
could not have been easier.
So that's a casino show there, which is kind of an oddball thing. What about these super regionals, Philly, Chantilly, stuff like that? Um, Free parking in Philly, I know that regardless of
Yep.
the venue, it's in the suburbs. Chantilly, is that free parking?
It is. It's got. It's. They've. I call them like these expo cities.
Hmm.
Where you've got the convention center, six chain
Yeah,
restaurants, two motels, and you kind of can walk the whole thing almost.
yeah.
So whether it's free parking or we walk it, yeah, I find those actually really convenient.
And a lot of times we're going to be making multiple trips to our cars for various reasons, whether it's to get cards, to drop cards back off. Some people keep their money in their car
Or your hotel room.
or your hotel room, right? I trust my car more than I trust a hotel room. I stay in a lot of hotels, and I probably trust keeping it in my car
Fair
over
point.
a hotel. So you walk into the venue, easy to find the show probably. Now Philly had a show a couple years ago at Live Casino. It was not easy to find the actual show because there's a lot going on. Again, a lot of these venues, the VFW hall is going to be different, right,
Right.
than a casino or a one of those places that you just spoke of. So got to find a show. You got to make it easy to find a show. That can't be. I know. My friend Bo Thompson makes it easy, but it's kind of a smaller show. Puts a lot of signs out, stuff like that. So,
What do you call a small show? How many tables for you?
100 tables, I guess.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not belittling it. I'm just saying it's. I mean, there's micro shows too
Oh,
that are 20, 30 tables, but I mean, when Philly show is less than 5 miles from my house, and that's not. I
just
don't consider that a small show. Dallas show, same thing. I don't consider that a small show. So
Philly, Chantilly. I'm kind of right in between those, so that gives me 6 shows a year that I consider good regional shows. Uh,
do you like to pay admission for any of these shows? Nobody likes to pay admission, right?
um, I try not to whenever
Right.
possible.
You don't
Uh,
offer up if they just let you in.
uh, I will say
Tip jar,
the fact that my son has outgrown the free children's price
right?
is a real bummer because I got
Right.
twin boys, so now I said only one of them can come.
There
We
you
have to
go.
pay.
There you go.
Yeah,
So, I mean, admission's kind of
it's a
it's a
tricky thing.
necessary evil, right?
Yeah,
For a show that's going to offer a lot of wallop, and this is where I'll put on my adult hat. Uh, you're talking about it's not. This isn't an organic homegrown thing here. Now you have to hire people to lay out your show on CAD so that the fire marshal can be alerted to what the layout is and all this stuff and approve layouts and all that stuff. So usually in Philly, possibly Chantilly, I know the national stuff like that. You hire an expo company to pipe and drape tables, all that stuff. Electrical costs money. None of that's free typically. Internet costs money. None of that's free typically. So there's a heavy cost involved for these promoters. We know that
yep.
for a medium to large size show. Same thing at the Fishtown show in Philly. It's a whole deal. And the national is union venues.
Yep.
So you have to deal with that. I know there's deals cut on that and all that stuff, but none of that stuff is cheap in any of these venues at all. So that's why we pay admission.
But isn't that making it all the more frustrating that the Wi-Fi was challenging in last year's national?
Yeah, that's you know whose fault that is. That is the nationals' fault. That's don't blame that on the convention center because that stuff should all be sorted out before anybody arrives, before anybody gets their laminate to hang around their neck. all that stuff needs to be sorted out. And considering how our hobby relies so much on that now, more than anything, and it relies on that for comps. It relies on that to make transactions, all that stuff. So that falls directly on the shoulders of the national planning committee or operational forces there.
Did it impact your experience?
Not at all, bro. One thing is,
just for regular communication or anything.
I'm a loner, man. I have nobody to communicate with. So one thing about that is, and again, I'm an outlier. Is I don't know everything, but I know, like, I go into things with a list, and I kind of have it written down what my range is, right? Versus comps and conditions and all that stuff. So the other side of that is I get in and I get out. I'm not an 8 hour on the show floor kind of guy. So I was kind of in there early at the National, and I was in there kind of late at the National, meaning I was in there early Friday, right, and I was in there. I came back late Sunday or later Sunday, so wasn't as much traffic. But with that said, I'm involved in plenty of conventions. I spend most of my life in convention centers around the country, and this is it's not an overwhelming problem to try to overcome. So again, Convention Center Atlantic City, it's not the most happening place in the country, but they do enough shows there where it,
Atlantic City, the city you only go to when you have to.
Yeah. But they do enough shows there where it's not a systemic thing in the building. It's somebody in the organization not being with the times, and again, considering how much transactional effect it has, regardless of the comps. But with that said, you go to these places and you can buy your own internet, Wi-Fi, but it's going to cost you thousands of dollars. It can cost you $10,000 to set up your own hotspot.
And sometimes that still doesn't work if you do it through the convention group.
Yeah, I mean, it should.
The National.
It should. There's companies that's their job. It's not the convention center's job. The convention center will hire a company like Smart City, for instance, is a internet provider for conventions. That's their job. They don't do their job. They don't have a contract, so they want that to be awesome for you, that internet experience, even though you're paying $10,000 for a weekend. Right. They want it to be awesome. So anyway, that's on them. I don't find, I mean, there's a lot of foot traffic at the National, but it doesn't matter. You just up your bandwidth, right?
So let me ask you a question. When you walk in, what makes the show good for you?
I'd like to have. It's funny. I'm a bit of a dichotomy. I don't follow the normal conventions of society as far as I like to zag when everybody's zigging, but I do like a layout that makes sense. Aisles that are so that you can go straight down this aisle, go straight back up that aisle, go straight down, up, and then you can do your cross aisles. You know what I mean? Philly show suffered from that for a while when they were at the Valley Forge Casino because the room was asymmetrical, so you could easily get lost. I don't like to get lost, because to me it's wasted time, right?
I do not like to get lost
either. Yeah, and then some people like to get lost in the whole vibe, but like it's wasted time if you don't know you've already been there before, or you're not sure if you missed something, then it can be frustrating. So. I like things symmetrical, and it makes sense when it comes to that. Walk in,
I feel like Look, kids, Big Ben. Look, kids, Big Ben.
Yeah.
I like the big aisle numbers. I still like a list of where the dealers are.
It's expensive,
and I like to see aisle 500. 523.
How do you think they get up there? Chinese weather balloons, Danny? I mean, you got to rent a lift and a guy and a guy and a guy.
Well, if you have corporate tents, which you do at a lot of these shows, you already got the forklift. Throw 6 more signs up.
It's not a forklift, but okay, it's a boom lift, 45-foot JLG.
You got it. It's already rented. It's already there.
It's not, but I got you. Most of the
Well,
convention centers,
a lot of
you
the
know,
a lot of the
yeah.
corporate
Again, this is
events, they do.
infrastructure stuff that, yeah,
Right.
it's infrastructure stuff that people don't realize. The tables aren't just laying around and don't set themselves up and all that. So,
And
you
you were
know,
talking about the fire plan. I like a wide aisle.
wide aisles are good, but that also you can only get away with so much, right? You hope your fireman says you can't have those narrow aisles, because if you're doing great selling your shows, then these guys want to put as many tables, rightfully so, in there and make as much money as they can. And I don't blame
Sure.
promoters for that at all, because they do a lot of work. Promoters,
Sure.
I think, you know, I mean, are there bad promoters out there? I mean, I'm sure there are, but like,
Well, is a
what
bad
makes a bad
promoter
promoter,
right?
a bad show, right?
Well, here's one for you. And do you feel there should be some sort of space off of the main floor to kind of, whether it's just empty tables to sit at and organize your stuff, or some sort of separate ballroom just to kind of sit down midday? And um, I like to have a kind of a side room or a place to just sit down and
Yeah.
organize.
Yeah. Again,
I'm too old
the
to sit on
National
the
is an
floor.
example. A National is going to tell you have this much room. The convention center floor, you rent the whole floor, you can do whatever you want with the floor, right? But any of the meeting rooms or extra ballrooms, that's, they're not going to just throw that in for free, because there's real costs involved in cleaning them and all that stuff. So sure, it would be nice. It doesn't suit my needs. I don't care. I don't need to sit down and spread out and do whatever. I'm not buying, that many cards where I need to sit down and, I'm like a ninja, dude. Get in, do your work, and get out. Like, there's no squatters going on there.
It's
I'm
easy
not
to
there.
it's easy to find you at a show in the headgear and
Yeah, exactly. With the little ninja boot
right,
on.
exactly.
Yeah. So, I mean, that sounds like a great thing to do, right? I agree that sounds like a great thing to do, but a promoter's job is to fill the space with as many tables as possible for several reasons: to line
Sure.
their pockets, rightfully so, and to present their customers with more opportunities and more dealers. So I completely get that.
Well, this gets back to your point of why they do charge at the door and why it's fair to charge. But where's the limit where it gets too much? I mean,
What does the market say? Is anybody telling us
phew,
I have to pay somebody to do my taxes because I'm a complete idiot, right?
yep.
And I have to do that, right? And the accountants can all say, well, we're going to charge you $50 more every year to do it. I have to pay it, right? Or figure out how to do it myself, which I'm not going to do. I don't have to go to anybody's show, right?
Yep.
Like, none of us have to. There's a show, dozens of shows every day on the computer, on the various auction sites, eBay, all that fun stuff, Facebook, Twitter. So nobody's being
Not the
forced
same
to go there.
experience.
Yeah, well, maybe it is for some, maybe it isn't. Like, there's a whole slew of collectors that don't have that. They don't have the opportunity to visit a show more than once a year, maybe, right? Because of the remoteness of where they live. So
Okay.
I don't, you know, nobody's forcing anybody to go to the shows. Shows are great. Sometimes they smell like an Arby's bathroom in there because of, whatever's going on. But it really is. There's a buzz that happens in these at a good show, right?
How about air conditioning or heat, depending on the season?
Depends on where you're at, right? I mean, I've
It's
never run
clutch.
into an issue though. Where have you run into an issue with that?
With some big windows and sunlight coming in,
Yeah,
because it was I guess a ballroom that has a patio and you can go in and out with the big glass doors.
felt like
And
a roach, huh? On
not
your
only
microphone.
that, the dealers that by the window, you couldn't see the cards in the cases the way the light was hitting.
Oh,
I
sure.
felt real bad for them
You
because
know, you and
that
I
probably
went to
wasn't in the brochure.
you and I went to a show where you couldn't see, and we didn't talk about this, but it was the Illuminati Summit out there in
Yep.
Vegas, where every display case you couldn't see just because of the way the ceiling lights were. Like,
That
and
was awful. Yes,
yeah,
that's it.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's a show right there where I can say, I've been to 40 table shows at the La Quinta in Indianapolis, and I thought it was worth my $2 admission. The industry summit in Vegas was probably the most horrible show I've ever been to, as far as a card
As a
show.
card show, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I think that's kind of an add-on to
Yeah, but why
why do it
half-ass
at
it,
all.
right? Because, and here's another thing you talk about before we get in the door. Show starts at 10 a.m., right?
Mm, thank you.
And there's
Yes.
clearly people out at the kiosks that are able to start selling admissions. Well, guess what? They don't even start selling wristband admissions at wristbands or will call until 10 a.m. when the show floor starts. That makes zero sense to anybody. Open your ticket office at 9 a.m. so that at 10 a.m. there's boots on the ground inside the ballroom and people are spending money. Not at 10 a.m. the line starts to move at the ticket window.
And I want the dealers to be set up when I get there
Yeah, yeah,
and stay the whole time I'm there. If I'm still
yeah,
shopping and the
yeah,
show's still open,
yeah. I
I'm
did
maybe I'm
4
old
laps,
school.
and it was a small room, but I did 4 laps at the industry summit because they were setting up as we go. There's no reason for a show at 10 that starts at 10 a.m. that half the dealers aren't there. That just makes no sense,
Oh, I
right?
remember some of them 10:30 were still
Yeah.
setting up.
So why is that? Is that a new breed of dealer that's doing that, or is that a
Or is that because it's in Vegas?
it's in Vegas? Whatever. I'm 55 years old. I got all that
You
stuff
you
out of
you
the way in
you
the
you
80s,
you
man.
you and me are in bed, or
Yeah.
go to sleep early. But I think some guys who go to that Vegas trip save up for a good time.
Yeah, well, I don't again, that was the worst show I've been to possibly ever, and, it's a shame because it's supposed to be, one of the industry's, crowning achievements or crown jewels, and this is if the rest of the operations run that way, I can't imagine why anybody is attending the industry summit, but it's a crappy show,
Well, can I throw another one at you? How about the quality of dealers and the quality of the actual cards on at the show? I've been to a show where the quality of the cards in the room were so poor, it was almost hard to buy a card if I wanted to.
well, what show is that? Tell me what kind of
Um,
show,
it, it,
that
it,
is.
it's near you, but I got a ton of respect for the promoter, and I really don't want to knock the show. But it was a lot of bass,
Right,
whole lot of graded bass.
right. Hmm.
Um, and
Was it a
listen,
recent show, Danny?
it was a very recent show.
Okay. Haven't been
Uh,
to that show, and there's a reason why I haven't been to that show.
and you know what? Maybe that's what the market is right now. Maybe everybody's sitting on graded base, and that's what they're trying to move. But that was I couldn't find vintage in the room. Couldn't find a dollar box to go through in the
Right.
room. So for me, I think I don't know if it's quality of dealer, quality of product, but I do want to be able to transact.
Do you think a new show, the show that I believe you're referring to is a newer show, maybe their second or third time. Do you think that uh, they have a hard time getting the old school dealers? And I'm not just talking vintage dealers, but the old school dealers. Their schedule is probably already set for what they want to do and what they want to do, right?
It's a fair question, but it's for me, it's a couple hours drive, and
Yeah.
I don't know that I bought or sold a card the whole show,
Huh. Interesting, man.
which is why it's nice to have tables off to the side to sit
Yeah.
at.
Well, they do have tables, but
when
there's
when your son's walking around all day
yeah.
and you can't
Yeah.
ninja,
Yeah, the
sometimes.
tables have green felt on the top, and you need a 5 or
Right,
$10
exactly.
chip to throw it on. So that's I guess we're once we're in the show, ideally a show will have enough for everybody because you can't. There are shows that focus on the vintage demographic specifically. The Vegas show is a bigger show, but it's mostly modern, so that's okay. But the ideal shows,
Well,
you
I go to
know,
Strongsville. I
yeah,
mean,
well, that's a vintage show, right?
that is a very
Yeah,
vintage show, and it's in a very tiny basement room,
right.
and it breaks just about every rule, but it has the most important thing: great product
Sure.
and
Yeah.
great cards. So you
Right.
know, I and they have chairs at the dealers' tables. I know that's silly,
Yeah.
and maybe it's because I'm getting old,
It's
but if
not silly.
I
And
really enjoy it, and I find myself doing more business.
See, it depends on what you're doing though, right? I mean, there's the big thing now is the dollar box
Yeah.
and stuff like that, right? But I'm a set builder, a vintage set builder, and quite a few of those dealers I know Stan from Ohio, right?
Hmm.
And there's another father, and now his son's involved. I don't know their names. They set out everything, but they rent or bring chairs,
Hmm.
right? So that because they know their customers are going to look through those binders. It's hard to look at a binder that's mid thigh uh, for half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour. So they get the
Yeah.
chairs. It's some people don't want the chairs because some people think that they can't do a quick sell that way. But these guys, I love those guys that just say, here's a chair, sit down, look through every binder from 52 up to 1979 or 80
Yep.
in football, baseball, basketball, and hockey. We don't care. So,
And that's
and
one of
that,
the nice things about Strongsville. I love it.
yeah, and that's where I tend to spend my money there because they're thinking about the
Mm.
customer more than anything. So,
But if I'm like you, it's the same thing with the dollar box. If I'm going through box after box, I don't want to be bent over. My back will be,
you'll be bent over when you put that stack of 200 cards down on the table.
really.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's a current, and I don't want to say trend, but it seems to be one of the current styles is unending monster boxes, right? Dollar boxes and stuff like that.
All right, you are very tech savvy in the convention arena. How about the ability to take electronic payments at card shows now versus cash? The Venmo, PayPal.
Hmm.
Do you do that at shows? Do you pay
Yeah,
that
all the
way?
time. I don't like to carry cash.
Well, here you
I don't
go.
like to carry a wallet. So I carry a phone, and this is I carry a phone, and there's my license and my debit card, and that's it, right? So this we shouldn't have to carry cash anymore. Of course, we're dealing with tax ramifications and stuff like that, either local sales tax or PayPal and Venmo and all that fun stuff. But it's like anything else in this business. Sure, cash is king, and you should get a deal, but it should be assumed that your customers are not carrying cash because why limit yourself to cash only transactions? Uh,
Well, that's the thing. If you want an add-on at the end of the show and you've already gone through, whatever, you hate to lose a sale because somebody can't,
yeah,
cash.
yeah,
Um, so I like the QR codes. I like dealers that take electronic payments, and I've been
yeah.
to shows where most of the dealers either do or don't take electronic payments. It seems to vary by show.
Yeah, but unfortunately, it's a complicated situation. It's not a convenience thing, right? There's again, there's transaction fees, right? So
Yeah,
yeah, just put another 3% on the card or take 3% off if I'm paying cash. But then there's the income tax thing too, which many dealers aren't uh, encouraging money to be flowing into their accountants'
yep.
uh, books, right?
Well, but for you, does that make it a better or worse show?
I'd prefer to have any option possible,
Right.
any option possible, because I'm a little bit of a freaky deek where I am in the airline um, loyalty points schemes. Right, I fly on American Airlines, and the more money
Gotcha.
you spend,
You're
the
part of
the
that racket.
the
Yeah.
more the more upgrades you get. So I have no problems putting my son's college tuition on my credit card to get the you know 17 or 18,000 points every semester. And then when I get the bill, I pay the bill, right? I have no problems doing that. But I bought Mickey Mantles on my, 53 Mickey Mantle I bought on my credit card because I was strictly, you know, if it's a $1,500 card, then I'm getting 3,000 points, airline points, right? So,
So, like, do you ever like go on a trip and say this one's on Mickey?
no, mate, I have I have a rule where I don't fly for free. If my butt's on an airplane, I'm earning. Okay. So, but I
Okay.
fly my family can go everywhere for free and stuff like that, So You know,
Yeah,
I
I
fly
think
my kid back and forth to college. I fly my wife down to see her parents and stuff like that. And that's where all the free stuff goes. But those points
yeah.
count towards upgrades too. So the more
There,
points, the higher your status. So that's what I'm saying.
there you go. All right. So what? So for you, Ninja,
Mm-hmm.
what else do you need for a good show? Or what else?
You know
What else
what?
for a
There's
good
there's
show?
something that we've talked about. It pops up around the national, and you can only kind of do it on a national scale because it requires sponsorship and heavy sponsorship, which is something else we could talk about floor space. But uh, I think there isn't a person alive that goes to the national that would not love to have an app that tells you where every table is, and you can
Mm,
go down and see table 287, and you can press 287 and get the dealer's name and kind of what they what they're holding there at their table. It's not going to make people not come to your table, but it helps that you can put a bookmark at that table. You can go down an aisle and press dealer table 287, and then on your map on your app, it's everything in pink is stuff you want to hit again, uh,
very cool.
stuff like that. And you can stream autograph times on there and advertisements and get-togethers, trade nights, whatever, all that stuff. Now it takes some effort to do that, but the money that is in this hobby
Yeah.
seems to me like PayPal,
Well,
eBay,
I was about to say it'd
ComC,
be
somebody could do
sponsored by
that.
somebody.
Yeah, and that's fine, right? Who do you think I care if I bring up an app
Well,
and there's an
you need
eBay bug
you
on the bottom
you
of it?
you need
You know?
working internet.
Well, exactly, right? Well, hey, guess what? That's when you get your internet sponsored by,
Right.
whomever on there, right? Our technology sponsor is these guys, right? Our app sponsor is these guys and all that stuff. Our platinum, silver, titanium, chloroform level sponsors, all that stuff, right? I mean, they do this on shows that are uh, all over the country. A lot of the national education of teachers or the postal workers or whatever have apps for their shows. Why can't we have apps for our shows where millions of dollars are flowing in and out of that floor on a daily basis, right?
And it's a business that's got more and more tech companies than
Yep.
ever.
Yeah, sure. There's no reason not to have that. Now you can't do that
It's
on
a brilliant. It's a brilliant idea.
you can't do that probably on a smaller scale. DCS may be able to get away with it, but it probably doesn't. DCS probably doesn't need to do that because it's one big room and
Well,
it's one smaller room, and
even
that's that.
even Chantilly's a nice size, you
But
know.
again, yeah,
But
you're
for
gonna get
remembering where the cards are, but that's the
yeah,
cool thing,
yeah, yeah. Put a pin right. Here's a pin. This
right?
place, this place, this place, and then you could tell your guy that you're with if you're not a ninja. If you can
Yeah,
say, "Hey, go here. They have this. I found this
right.
Cheetos card over here." So that's it. And that's I think that's just speaking for the national, but it's if you're getting lost at a Chantilly or Philly, then maybe
Well, it's not
this
a matter
ain't
of
your
getting
thing.
lost. It's sometimes for remembering where you saw a card.
Right.
A lot of times, and this is an old tradition of mine. I enjoy walking the floor the first time before I do anything. I
Oh, for
just
sure.
I just take it in.
Yeah.
I just sometimes I'll leave no money, no cards on me, and just walk and take it all in.
Yep.
That so it's not a matter of getting lost, but I would love to put a pin and say come back here, come back here, and
Yeah.
then
Instead of sometimes I'll light a smoke bomb off, and then
well that
or
works.
send a flare or a road flare. If I put a road
Well,
flare in the aisle, then
the
I'll
good
come back.
news is you get a baseball card and a new pope.
Yeah, and a pair
So
and some
which is
bracelets too.
right.
Yeah.
uh, Here's another one for you that I don't know how you feel. How many people can be at a table and represent how many different things? Because I got to go to a
Uh,
table and I got to ask whose cards, who's allowed to speak for it, who
right.
does the buying, who does the selling,
Yeah.
and price your freaking cards
You're
so
talking
you don't
about
have to
behind the table.
behind the table.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
or
I
actually in front of the table too, and
yeah
get
I
your
I
Zion
don't
case off the display.
one of the people I spoke about with the binders and has all the crazy stuff, all the Kellogg sets, everything, I just love the table. He's back there. The patriarch is back there, almost in his little desk, and
Hmm.
he's got his kid and maybe somebody else. And I understand that because that has to happen, right? And Stan's the same way, right? I'll hand Stan a stack of cards. He'll hand it to his wife, and his wife will
Yep.
go back and figure it. I mean, I get all that. That's just for the stuff I'm shopping. I agree on the pricing, but is that a result of the dynamic and constantly fluctuating prices that cards aren't labeled with prices, or is that pure laziness? Do you think? Because a card without a price doesn't pigeonhole that person.
So I told you I'm doing my first show in 30 years. I'm
Mhm.
pricing my cards.
Are you
I'm
doing 1993 prices? Or you,
I got 89 Griffies, so sure.
yeah,
Uh,
McGuire's,
right,
87
exactly.
McGuire's.
I got my Mattingly rookies, 85
Uh,
Clements. No, but I feel a card should have a price.
mhm.
I'm doing it a week or two out. Could something dramatic happen in a week or two? Absolutely. Is it on me when I put my cards out to know, if something has happened to a player? Yeah, that's part of the gig of being the dealer. Is I feel like I should know what I want to sell a card for. I don't like when I go up to a table and they say, "Well, make me an offer," or "Let me check the comps."
Here's your problem, kid. All right.
Yeah,
See what that says?
DOND.
You go to Facebook or Twitter, deal or no deal.
Yeah,
Half, if not more than half, of the Facebook groups, private groups, and the Twitter sales are deal or no deal. That's the way it
explain
is.
that.
Well, I know what I'll let I know what I'll let that card go for. Say it's $1,000.
Okay,
If somebody, it's like an auction, right? If somebody wants to pay me $1,200 and I have 1,000 on the card, then I just screwed myself out of $200. I can say no to the guy who offered $800 or $900. But if I'm happy with 1,000, but somebody wants to give me 1,200, then that's what it's essentially. It's a silent auction right there, or it's an auction right there, right? So I feel like that's kind of creeped into the the card show floor now too. Like, see who blinks first. You
well,
know,
but do you want to have to get the dealer's attention
I
for
don't,
every card? You
I
know,
don't. I'm just saying from that standpoint, maybe that's how you know, that's how a lot of these transactions are done away from shows now,
right?
and it feels like that's creeped onto the show floor. Perhaps the deal or no deal thing, which may explain why we see less price stickers on cards on shows,
I think laziness might contribute, but it's a good point.
right? Or dynamic pricing, right? We don't know. Last week this guy hit a home run, so this week this card's going to be whatever. It's crazy. Uh, but again, we
You're
have a
being very
choice.
kind.
We have a choice to whether we want to be a part of this. And I know a lot of people who will say, "I just pass those tables over." I also know that half the people that say they'll pass those tables over don't pass those tables over. They're going to
Yeah,
try to negotiate a price, right? If there's a card they like, they're not going
it's
to.
all well. It
They're
gets
not
back.
going to. Their principles, right?
Yeah, gets back
So
to the product.
yeah, I mean that's frustrating, and the hobby is has always been a negotiation. The stores, you don't walk into Home Depot and make an offer on a $550 microwave. You pay $550 for
Yep.
the microwave, right? So our hobby has always been that way. I think more of a problem on the show floor is the the B2B aspect where you were talking about, either side of the table. Like, I don't know.
Mhm.
I feel like I'm constantly in the middle of a business deal when I go to some of these tables, with the Pelican cases open. And it's, you know, what did I walk into? It's like I'm a voyeur now instead of a participant, right? I'm watching deals go down instead of being part of deals because
Well,
that's what
that's
the show floor is now.
and I can't stand when people put their giant cases on a dealer's display case.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Kind of
sorry.
rude, huh? Yeah.
And it's glass. But
Yeah.
no, I don't like when a dealer has to go through 250 cards because
Uh,
they say they might buy something, and now this guy
yeah.
just makes them look at their entire PC, in case the dealer will
Yeah.
buy one card.
But the
Um,
dealers, I mean, it's a catch-22 because the dealers are constantly acquiring inventory, right? And this is one of their methods to do so, and I get that, but
yep.
that takes away from the experience of as an attendee, uh, feeling like I'm an outsider
Yeah,
at a table, right?
absolutely. All right, Mr.
What about
Keating.
the? Oh, we're not done yet, man. I
Yeah,
don't care if
keep going.
you have a bedtime.
I got nothing.
Autographs are a big part of this,
Oh,
right?
yes.
And you and I are not part of the autograph
And,
armies that
and we
attend
have
these
good and we
shows.
have good friends that are.
We have good friends that are for some reason.
Yep.
It's fun, I guess. It's fun. I mean, the Philly show. I don't know what. I assume Strongsville doesn't have signers, do they?
For the first time this year, and I'm livid about it. Don't get me
Okay.
started. Yeah.
Who are they getting? Not Bobby Shantz and Bob
It's
Feller's widow.
it's all Cleveland related. It's
Okay.
and Ricky Henderson.
And
I,
he's everywhere. There's Ricky Henderson's like Gallagher. There's like 3 Ricky Hendersons, I think.
like Gallagher. Yeah.
So, like, it's good and it's bad for us that don't, because it gets people off the floor and into lines,
Yep.
right? But if you're looking for a card, happen to be looking for a card of somebody who's at the show signing, and Philly runs out some pretty big, awesome guests,
Yep.
then it can be difficult, right? You can have a hard time finding a Ricky Henderson at a card show on the same weekend in 3 different cities in 3 different time zones because Ricky Henderson's signing at all of them. So
how about the physical just layout of the room where they put the autograph people and the announcements and the crowd, and then you've got to walk by the merchandise that you're not buying because you're not getting an autograph because you can't even get into the show. And I will say that's the complaint of mine, that you cannot physically walk into the Philly show without going through the line.
It's in the back now, though. The Philly, it's all the way in the back.
No, you have to walk by a table of memorabilia to buy to get
all that
autographed.
stuff. When I was there last time, I was there in December. It was all in the back.
Well, maybe.
You had to walk past Robert Golden and Robert Edward, or Bob, whatever the heck his name is.
Well, maybe it was CSA.
Dick Golden, REA, Heritage. You had to walk through all their displays up front because they have the prime real estate up front. But
well, then I take it back if I have the wrong show. But one of them we had to walk through the items to be purchased to be autographed before we could get in.
Yeah, listen, if you're the guy that's paying for that, then it's a brilliant move, right? It's like going through the exit through the gift shop, right?
Right. Enter through the gift shop.
It's reverse here. You're entering through the gift shop.
I mean, the funny part is I'm coming in for the whole store's a gift shop for me.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I mean, like, ease up. You already got me,
Yeah, and what's interesting, as 2 collectors here who don't participate in that part, but if I'm getting Pete Rose's autograph, or if I'm getting Ricky Henderson's autograph, it's probably on something that I've owned for a long time, or you know what I mean? That's the weird part about that to me.
I'm not I don't want to knock the people that do mini helmets, or there are people that like the collection of that same type of product over and over. And those are the things you typically see sold, but that's not me. That's just, it's not me.
Yeah.
For me, it would be a ticket of a game I went to, or a card, or there would be some personal connection.
Yeah, and the National does a decent job of keeping that all down to one end of the hall.
Yes.
It kind of, down. It's like Chuck E. Cheese down there, right between the autographs and the big corporate breakers and all that fun stuff. So, what do you think about the corporate presence? I know DCS has made a move to do that more, and I don't mind the Robert Edwards or the Goldens or the Heritage because it's kind of a subdued thing, like at the Philly show. But the National.
I haven't made it to Dallas yet, just to be fair. As soon as I tell everybody down there, to all our Dallas friends who live down there, as soon as I can afford it, I'll be there. But for Philly, for CSA, the National this year was the first time I felt the noise and the layout was conflicting. I thought it hurt the corporate tents. I thought it hurt the breakers. I thought it hurt the stage.
Right.
That whole area I found very unfriendly.
The stage was difficult for sure, right? And I saw you there, and again, that's the part I think of. It's like Chuck E. Cheese. But if you're the whole other, which I would guess would be the West End, was heaven. Truth be told, right?
know, it
It was
was.
row after row of table, and I like that segregation. There was some corporate presence right in the middle, and I understand why they need to be in the middle. But it was they were, and all that did for me was I had to cut through some of them to complete the aisle. Right? It was just
Yep.
it's like cutting through the park to get to the other street. And that didn't bother me, but it was kind of mayhem. And Dallas Card Show used to have those lunatics out in the hallway, but now they've moved to the main floor, and I don't know whether that's um, a situation where fewer tables
Right.
are selling there, or whether it's the money is too good to turn down. I've seen things escalate there, corporate presence wise. They're charging for parking now, all that fun stuff. So.
Oh, right. Do you find the breakers to be as annoying as I do at a show?
Yeah, there's no need for cowbells and stuff like that, and microphones and stuff.
What the whole
You know,
point of breaking is that you're not at a show to buy the cards.
right? Did you see any of that at the Fishtown show? Because
I
the
saw
temperature on breakers. I don't know whether
the
it's as hot
Fishtown
as it was.
show was lovely, well run.
I heard there was a DJ that was the most annoying thing in the world. One of the people that I knew that set up there said they
then
felt
maybe
like,
I missed it
yeah,
completely.
they felt like they couldn't even hear themselves think because there was constant random acts of DJing going on. And do we want that when we're talking about the
I, I,
53 Mays? Do we want to do that at 120 beats per minute, or are we? Is that
in
we don't need
general,
that, right?
in general, I don't believe in random acts of DJing. I think
Yeah,
for public safety,
listen. I know we're old, right? But like, it's hard enough to carry on a conversation with somebody from
it's true
4.5 feet away, the width of a table plus their fanny pack. It's hard to carry a conversation on about negotiating a price on a card when we have cowbells going off over at the Breaker Pavilion.
Yep.
And we have a DJ that's tripping his balls off on ecstasy in the other corner. And
Hey, I was at Amsterdam in the 90s, and it was the exact same feel in the National at the Breaker Zone as some of the techno clubs that I might have wandered into.
Yeah, I mean, sure, you need. Is that bringing more people in, or is that I understand we're trying to be hip,
but it's broadcasting. Did you notice that a lot of them were actually breaking and broadcasting to people who weren't there?
Right.
So they're just making noise.
That happens, sure, but don't you think they need less noise when they're?
I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah.
Please just shut up. I'm buying cards.
I feel like one of them's going to hire Creed, and we're going to have Creed playing for all three of their songs for hours on end at the next, with yellow balloons on their guitars and stuff like that.
I think we immediately just aged 20 years in that last 5 minutes.
Yeah. But card shows are awesome. We know card shows are awesome.
Well, can we share that with everybody? You and I both love going to card shows. If we haven't made that clear,
as an introvert who doesn't like people, I still like going to card shows, and that's something I spent the early part of my career, my 20s, from 20 to 30, in massive crowds, and now I hate crowds. And I'll still brave a card show because you'll always find something you haven't seen before. You can't find everything there, but we have so many weapons and tools at our disposal now between eBay and other groups on Facebook or Twitter or whatever. Card shows still getting it done. Everybody prefers to get it done in person. There's no ambiguity, right? This crease didn't happen between me putting it in an envelope here and you getting it into the Yukon, right?
Exactly.
It's in your hand, So
I like to smell the room. Has a certain vibe to it.
Well, you come to my Arby's, all right? You come to my Arby's at 2 o'clock on a Saturday morning.
Not the dealers, but there's something about a show. You said it before. There's an energy. There's something.
Yeah, there's a buzz, man.
There is. It's a vibe, and I don't get that buzz often anymore in a crowd like you. I'm a little antisocial, so for me,
low T. Is that why? Or
no, my tea is fantastic actually.
Tea's
but
good?
I got
good.
twins, man. Dude,
right.
So
all right.
But I enjoy the feel of the room where I don't at a lot of other places.
Yeah, it's fun, man. And you know what? As with many people of I'm pre JWE, pre Max Wax is when my heyday or my learning years of collecting. Like it's fun to see other people interested in the same thing as you. You know, it's for somebody to collect most of their life in isolation. It's fun to see that and all that fun stuff. So there's nothing like card shows. I don't think it's one of the few things, Danny, where we can't pick apart too much and say it's broken. How do we fix it? Because anything that bothers us, like the DJ or Creed or Nickelback, it's really a small inconvenience. You know,
Uh,
it could be.
I'll say versus the pandemic, I'll take it.
Yeah, for sure, man. And I know a lot of people, speaking of pandemic, a lot of people getting COVID at card shows, but it's still worth it. They would do it all over again. So
If my family doesn't watch or doesn't hear this, I would do it. Yeah, I don't
yeah,
care. I'd go in a second. So
yeah, and there's a proliferation and there's a lot of them happening, but it'll. I don't think there's too. I don't think you can say there's too many because we'll know when there's too many. You're going to stop promoting them, or people are going to stop going to them, and that's nobody will get hurt. Nobody will be harmed. Maybe maybe a dealer will not have a great weekend, but what was his weekend going to be otherwise? His or her weekend going to be otherwise? So nobody's getting hurt doing that. It's again, it's one of the few parts of the hobby where, uh, you know, people are coming out on the short end of the stick. I think.
Well, I'm thrilled by me that we're seeing local shows again. You talk
Yeah.
about the micro shows.
Yeah,
we
mall
spend
shows. We have a lot of mall shows where I am. Yeah.
But so we don't,
Yeah.
and that's really surprising. I mean, the Baltimore area,
Baltimore, Marley Station, Columbia Mall,
Baltimore,
Towson,
yeah.
Mall.
Um,
Yeah. Golden Ring's not there anymore,
by
maybe.
the way, I live 5 minutes from Towson Mall, so
Do you? Sorry.
yeah, which by the way is now a crime zone.
Is it
Uh,
really? Shame, man.
it is,
Yeah.
but we don't have a ton of local shows, which is really surprising.
Not even Hunt Valley Mall.
That's not even a mall anymore. It's a town center. It's
a
an
community
outdoor.
college.
It's got a Wegmans and yeah.
But I
So-
see a lot of those in the Philly area. I hope that that's the case with maybe we just have a promoter, but it's like, how hard is that to go to a mall and like it's great. Go ahead, honey.
Westminster's the nearest mall show.
Huh. Interesting.
So,
well, maybe you can figure out how to do that and bring Baltimore back to life.
well, if you figure out the app for the National, then I'll do a show.
I figured it out. I don't need to. I don't need to go any
you got
further.
an idea. Don't be the idea guy. You got to come through here.
Listen, I'm the only guy on the floor of the National with an abacus. So you think I care whether I have an app or not? And like I said, if I have enough road flares on my abacus, I'm okay.
I kind of think you do want the app after hearing it today.
All right.
I think deep down, this is your calling, man.
Some will take credit for that, but I've been talking about it since before the Chicago National, and I'm not saying it's my idea, but I had the thing planned down to the bite, as they say over there in the IT closet. I have it. I can make this thing. I can idea man this thing into somebody's dream for sure. I got it all figured out, as they say.
I did not realize there was a dark underbelly of hobby think tanks.
There is.
Yes.
There's a lot of subterfuge in the National Baseball Card Collector app.
You're funny. Yeah. Well, this was fun.
Yeah, card shows are great. Anything that you didn't agree with, just
put it in the comments.
Put it in the comments and come on at us.
And if you do agree, that's okay too.
Yeah, I'm sure somebody will complain, but that's what people do. They complain, but any ideas that make shows better or worse, put them out there, because the more we know, the better we all is. I think, for sure. And we can make suggestions to promoters too, for sure, because they all do things a little bit differently. I've gotten into some verbal jujitsu with a card promoter about certain things, and like we don't agree, and that's okay.
Is this at a show that we've been to together?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Just
Yeah.
it's just a matter of like the whole I know it was a big thing a little while back about people attendees uh
Trading and doing business in
yeah,
the
doing business with other attendees, and
yeah.
to get that out of the thing, it's like if protect your dealers, promoters. I mean, that's the way it is. They're paying there to sell. Protect them, right? And I think that there's nothing wrong with
I don't think there's anything wrong with asking somebody to
yeah,
step outside. I think the amount of percentage that's an actual ongoing issue versus the
yeah,
amount
it's
of
hyped up. Yeah,
the hype that went
yeah,
around was
yeah.
disproportionate.
So
Yeah.
B2B, good.
Yeah.
B2C, good. C2B, good. C2C, no. Okay,
Nope.
go
That's what the lobby's for,
exactly. Well,
or the
yeah,
parking lot.
yeah.
I mean,
Or eBay, or Facebook, or Twitter.
listen.
Get your own hustle. Don't be
I stay at a
piggybacking on somebody
hotel.
else.
I cannot. there's nothing wrong with after hours if everybody's up in the hotel.
Exactly. Yeah,
That's totally kosher in my
yeah,
world.
yeah. Just I mean, we tend to everything we tend to take to the extreme. Just you know, don't screw up card shows like that. Just
Yeah, they are really. It's my last
yeah,
bastion of happiness.
yeah, exactly,
Please
man.
stay out of my card
Yeah,
shows.
don't make me hit you over the head with my
But it's the
ninja
only place
stuff.
John and I can go because
Yeah,
between
yeah,
his verbal jujitsu and his card
yeah,
ninjas,
yeah.
he's a black belt at this.
And
So
I'm a habitual rule breaker. Even though I like square shows, these 40-minute shows, I can't adhere to 40-minute or half-hour shows. So I apologize. Hopefully, you guys got all your sorting done during this thing, and you didn't lose any, you didn't pop your veins by anything that we said
yeah.
that was inflammatory.
And I'm very excited. If anybody's looking for some 1971 Topps Commons with great edges, let me know. That was
Yeah.
my afternoon today. Came into a bunch of those, so that was fun. And
Wow.
they'll probably go at a card show. That's why. See how I tied that together? They're going to sell at a card show.
And if anybody needs any $5 off coupons for Ace Hardware, if you spend $3,000 or more, I have a $5 off coupon. So hit me up.
And that's right after the Blockbuster coupons.
Yeah, exactly. And then free Nickelback tickets.
Right. All right. You want to say goodbye?
Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye, Danny. Thank you for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and collecting and all that fun stuff. Comments, suggestions, criticisms, throw them thick and heavy. Thanks so much for joining us. Take care, everybody.